Welcome to The Breakdown. I'm your host, Official Burn, and this is the show where we break everything down. And today, we talking politics, baby. Fox News politics, because you already know Fox News is in its own separate category of politics. They are or have a lot of opinionated hosts. And do you know who's the worst out of them all? You guessed it. Tucker Carlson. Not Greg Gutfeld. Wait a minute. We'll get back to that one. Tucker Carlson is the worst host out of them all. Wait a minute. Sean Hannity? Okay. Right now, we're talking about Tucker Carlson. So let's just stick to that. This guy seems to have a problem with everyone who's a Democrat or anybody who supports the Democratic anything. But we all know what the problem is. You have no facts. You have no factual basis for any points of discussion. You can only state your opinion. And I get it. Fox News is mostly an opinionated platform. And it's sad that there are people out there that actually believe everything that comes out of these hosts' mouth. They are not even politicians themselves. Tucker Carlson got on TV to discuss Joe Biden's age and how he's weak. He also says that he does not intend to be cruel by his comments. He talks about Joe Biden's age as if he's disintegrating or something. He calls him weak. He says that 77 is not the prime of life. Let's remind ourselves how old Trump is. I mean, this guy's like 75. And don't get it twisted. You can comb your hair all types of ways, get extensions, and even bake your skin until you look like orangeade. But your age does not change.
Last kid picked for kickball somehow wound up captain of the team. So no matter what you think of him, that is an undeniable achievement. And yet still, even now, very few people take Joe Biden seriously. Why is that? Well, if you've seen Biden talk, you know why. He is fading. That's not a partisan point. It's not intended to be cruel. It's true. 77-year-olds generally are not meant to lead large countries. 77 is not the prime of life. It is old age. Vigor declines over the course of a lifetime, particularly in men. Joe Biden has grown weak. That's why we don't take him seriously.
In fact, you can get big and unhealthy, but your age does not change.
Vigor declines over the course of a lifetime, particularly in men. Joe Biden has grown weak. That's why we don't take him seriously. But as it turns out, there's another way to look at Joe Biden's decline. It's a perspective that hasn't occurred to most Republicans, but clearly it's at the center of the Democrats' election strategy. Yes, Joe Biden is slowing down. For 50 years, he couldn't stop talking. Now he has trouble starting sentences. He forgets words. He misnames states. Occasionally, he mistakes his sister for his wife. Every time he gets confused, Biden grins in that charming way old people do when they know they're losing it. So yes, Joe Biden has gotten a little daffy, but for that very reason, he's not going to hurt you. There is nothing threatening about him.
And he has the nerve to describe him as not aggressive. What do you want him to be? Everybody doesn't want to scream at the camera. Everyone doesn't have the ability to scream at the camera. And it's so sad that you sat here and watched that man not stutter one time. So this is the only thing that you can come up with. Because if he stuttered or gaffed, as you guys call it, then that would be the basis of your discussion for your nightly opinionated show. But since he didn't do any of that, you have to attack his non-aggressive behavior.
Democrats are happy about that. If you didn't see Biden speak last night, you may not fully appreciate this dynamic. Some Republicans in Washington will tell you that Biden's acceptance speech was scary. It's their job to say things like that. But in this case, that's not true. Watch this clip and ask yourself what you disagree with.
But while I'll be a Democratic candidate, I will be an American president. I'll work hard for those who didn't support me, as hard for them as I did for those who did vote for me. That's the job of a president, to represent all of us, not just our base or our party. This is not a partisan moment. This must be an American moment. It's a moment that calls for hope and light and love. Hope for our future, light to see our way forward, and love for one another. America isn't just a collection of clashing interests of red states or blue states. We're so much bigger than that.
An American moment, an American president, an American leader who represents everyone, regardless of party.
Watch how Tucker Carlson describes a reverend's point of view on how the Republicans are handling our immigration crisis.
Relentlessly, savagely partisan, even by the standards of a partisan political convention. Watch the Reverend Freddie Haynes explains that Jesus hates Republicans too.
You had the nerve to build a wall while at the same time you have in the harbor there in New York a Statue of Liberty saying, give me your tired, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Jesus will say, America, if you don't get your act together, you may well go to hell.
America is headed to hell, says the Reverend Freddie Haynes, damned for eternity. Flames, smoke, pitchforks, gnashing of teeth, the whole thing. That's not speculation.
Pitchforks, the teeth, everything. Did you really just say that? You said Jesus hates Republicans. This man did not say that. He did not say that. Now, I will refer you to the Bible somewhere in there. Don't quote me on this, but I know that Jesus hates sinners. That's what it says in the Bible. You can redeem yourself, but that's what it says in the Bible. So if the Reverend is referring to Jesus hating anyone, which I did not hear him say, then most likely he could be talking about people who are sinning. And what do we see the Trump administration doing on a daily basis? Like, he's basically saying the Statue of Liberty sits in the middle of our harbor and says to give us everyone from any country. We will take them in, because that is what America is one big melting pot of a whole bunch of different backgrounds and skin colors and cultures, even though America kind of did take everything from everybody else. And the history of the white man, in quotations, it's kind of imperialistic, but hey, that's not the subject that we're talking about. But still, what this reverend is basically saying is like, hey, get your immigration policies together. Okay? You had children being stripped away from their parents. Parents not seeing their children for a long period of time. Now, I don't know if you know, I got a child, and that is not the best feeling that you could possibly imagine. Now imagine being in a country where you have to leave because there's violence going on. And as soon as you get to another border where you think you're safe because they portray themselves as the safest country in the world, and they say, no, you can't come in, imagine how that feels. Let alone imagine being stripped away from your child at that moment and not knowing when you're going to see your child. Tucker Carlson describes Anna Navarro, a CNN strategist, as the single dumbest person on the single dumbest network. I believe that's what he said. Didn't he say that? If he didn't say that, let me know exactly what he said, or it was something very similar. I know he said that.
Here's the single dumbest talking head on the single dumbest cable news channel clapping her hands in infantile glee because Democrats managed to exclude an entire racial group from this week's proceedings. And she's grateful for that. She just couldn't bear to look at them anymore.
It was all about representation. My little melanated, cynical heart, my immigrant melanated woman heart felt so full last night. Actually, today with David and John is the first time I see a white man like in 8 hours, this, other than Joe Biden last night. And that's okay. They've had 240 years of representation. They're going to be okay.
What kind of person would say something like that, or even think it? If you ever catch yourself feeling thrilled that you don't have to see certain racial groups, if you find people who look different from you that horrifying, that repulsive, then you can be certain that you are indeed a racist, a nasty one too.
Did you really just call somebody dumb, but like the single dumbest person? You know, I could imagine that she describes you the same way, and that's the reason why you describe her like that. But guess what? You are, in fact, dumb. Very dumb, Tucker. Okay? And I want to let you know that coming from me. And last but not least, your favorite Fox News host, not mine, Tucker Carlson, describes Joe Biden's speech as if it were drug related. Just listen to it. It's just like, you can't make this up. This has to be one of the worst things that someone could say about someone's speech. But then he actually agrees that it's a good thing. Take a look.
Reform, to unite, a path of hope and light.
A path of hope and light. It sounds like a Beatles lyric from their acid phase. But actually, it's a beautiful sentiment, if we're being honest. Who doesn't want hope and light? We all do.
I love talking about politics. I'm not sure who's worse. Greg Gutfield, Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, Martha. Like, these Fox News hosts need to go because they are changing the mind of people who are uneducated. That's right. I said it. Hillary Clinton might have called them deplorables. I call them uneducated, because there's no way that you could listen to these people on a platform like this and actually believe anything they say, especially if you don't do your own research. I'm your host, Official Burn, and you've just watched The Breakdown.
All eyes on me, all eyes on me, all eyes on me, all eyes on me, yeah. All eyes on me, all eyes on me, all eyes on me, all eyes on me, yeah. I ain't gon' fuck up the bag.